Hi, I'm Pam Brumbaugh, and I'm the Director of Client Services for the Brumbaugh Law Firm. Today's our first in our series of our Lunch and Learns. Today I have with me Amanda Fitstum, and she's our daughter, and she's going to ask me several questions, so hopefully you will find them all very interesting.
So today we are going to be talking about Medicaid and how that helps us get into nursing homes.
All right.
Okay, so these are some of the common questions we get from some of our clients or prior clients, soon-to-be clients. So I think it'd be good to talk about those today. So say my mom or dad is going into a nursing home, and what can you do to help them, or what can they do to help themselves to pay for that?
That's a really big question, because a lot of times when people go into the nursing home, they might have some assets, they have a house, they might have some money in the bank, and that's typically how they pay for the nursing home.
But what about Medicare? Does that help with the nursing home bill?
Oh, that's a really good question. So Medicare is a form of health insurance. When you're a senior, you get 65, everybody gets Medicare. And Medicare, because it's more of a health insurance program, it only pays for nursing home if you need what is commonly called skilled nursing. So skilled nursing might be rehabilitation, so maybe you fall and you break a hip, or you can't walk very well, so you're getting some physical therapy. That's considered a form of skilled nursing. Maybe you have an open wound, or need some other kinds of assistance, so that's skilled nursing. And Medicare will pay for that, and typically Medicare pays for the first 20 days in full, and then after that it's a co-payment with your supplemental insurance if you have one, typically up to 100 days. But it's really, really rare somebody gets a full 100 days on Medicare. There's some other requirements. But typically, once a person has plateaued, or once they're not seeing any improvement with their physical therapy, then their Medicare is terminated. And if they need to stay in the nursing home, then they transition to what's called long-term care, the nursing home side, and then your self-pay.
So with the self-pay, we have people that ask the nursing home about that, and they say that they need to spend all of their money in the nursing home, and then once they get all their money spent there, then the nursing home will help them apply for Medicaid. Yeah. Is that true?
That is true.
Is that the only option?
It is not the only option. So of course when you go to the nursing home's like any other business, and they have to pay their bills. So when somebody's admitted to the nursing home, the assumption is that person will pay every month. And let's say right now the average cost of a nursing home bill in our community is $7,000 for a shared room. And they will pay $7,000 a month until they've exhausted all of their resources. So if they have $70,000 in 10 months, they're exhausted all their resources. And then the nursing home will help them apply for Medicaid.
So what is Medicaid exactly?
Well, Medicaid is a program. When most of us think about Medicaid, we think about government benefits for maybe young moms, or homeless people, or people who can't work, people who are impoverished or poor. But there's also a kind of Medicaid for nursing home people. It's called long-term care Medicaid. And when somebody no longer has the means to pay for their nursing home, they can apply for Medicaid. It is a government program, and you have to qualify for Medicaid. And usually to qualify, you have to have less than $2,000 in assets, and your income has to be under a certain level, which changes from year to year.
So what would be considered an asset?
And assets are typically anything that you have money for. So a house is an asset. A vehicle could be considered asset if you have more than one. A bank account, CDs, investments accounts, IRAs, annuities, life insurance policies, the cash surrender value of a term life insurance policy. Anything like that can be considered an asset. Anything that you can, so if it's not money in the bank, anything that you can convert to cash. We're not looking at household stuff. Typically, it's not considered an asset.
Okay. So when you talk about you need to spend down all of that money, is that what Medicaid considers their spend down? And we've heard that term before. what does that look like?
So that is, you're right, that is the spend down. It's like, I have to spend down. What does that mean? Does that mean every time I go to the grocery store I'm spending down? Well, typically, but usually you're looking for, we're talking about spending down larger chunks of money. And again, if you're going to the nursing home, ABC Nursing Home will say, well, when you've spent all your money, you've spent it down. Once you get to under $2,000, which is that asset level for Medicaid, then you're eligible for Medicaid.
So for spending down, is that, can I just give my money to, grandkids or children? Can I gift my house to somebody? What does that count? Do I have to, are there other things I can buy? What can I spend my money on?
Yeah, so Medicaid for a lot of people have a lot of different rules that a lot of times people don't even know what those rules are. So for example, a lot of people say, well, gee, the government says I can give $14,000 a year to my kids. And we've had people say, so I can spend it down that way by giving it away. That's an IRS gifting guideline, and that has nothing to do with Medicaid. Medicaid says if you give any money away, they can consider that what they call an improper transfer. That's the word that they use for it. It's a gift. And they can penalize you for that. The same thing if, so when we're talking about, spending down, we really don't encourage people to do that, So it could be a common one is sometimes funerals for people to spend down. But typically, if you're working with an attorney, an elder law attorney, then they can actually look at your individual situation and strategize, some other spend down opportunities that people might not necessarily tell you about. Certainly the nursing home is not going to give you some different options, nor is the Medicaid caseworker.
So what's a penalty? How do they penalize you for maybe gifting things or the improper transfer?
Right. So a lot of people have heard of the 5-year look back. And what that means is from the time somebody actually makes application to Medicaid, Medicaid looks at all that person's resources for the last 5 years. And during that period of time, they look to see if you broke any of their rules, especially with the improper transfers or the gifting. So let's say, I gave, over the course of that 5 years, I gave $20,000 to my kids. And then I sold my house for $40,000 less than the value of it. So right there, I've given $60,000 away. And then let's say I gave, I paid college education, $9,000 for my grandchild's college education. I've given away $69,000 in the last 5 years. Well, as it stands today, for every $6,900 somebody gives away in a way that Medicaid doesn't approve, so a gift, selling something for less than its value, buying something for somebody that you don't need to, for every $6,900 that person gives away, that's 1 month that Medicaid won't pay for when you would otherwise be eligible for it. So that Medicaid, that penalty, and the Medicaid calls that a penalty, and that doesn't start until you actually apply for Medicaid. So, which means, first of all, you have to apply for Medicaid first, and then when the caseworker sees this information and assesses how much you've given away those improper transfers, then they will assess the penalty. So in this case, because we've given away $69,000, that would be 10 months that Medicaid would not pay for me to be at the nursing home.
So don't wait 10 months and then apply for Medicaid. Apply for Medicaid.
Well, exactly.
And then wait the 10 months.
So exactly. So if I did all of that work and then I go into ABC Nursing Home and ABC Nursing says, okay, Mrs. Brumbaugh, you have less than $2,000. We're going to help you apply for Medicaid. I have no more assets at that point when I walk into the nursing home. And then they help me apply for Medicaid. And then the caseworker tells ABC Nursing Home, well, that's okay, but Mrs. Brumbaugh gave away $69,000, so we're not going to pay for her nursing home for the next 10 months. She can stay there, and on month 11, she'll be eligible for Medicaid. And then the nursing home will ask me, so Mrs. Brumbaugh, how are you going to pay to be here? My somebody would have to take me home because I wouldn't have a way to pay for the nursing home bill.
So in that case, with a penalty, then you would use part of your assets to then spend down at the nursing home to cover your penalty period.
I wouldn't have any assets.
Well, say you still had assets left and you have the penalty period and you still have money to spend down. Would you use that at the nursing home to spend it down?
So that's a really kind of confusing question. So I can't apply for Medicaid until I've already spent down my assets. So if I apply for Medicaid and I still have, $5,000, the caseworker is going to come back and tell me I'm not eligible for Medicaid because my assets are over my $2,000 limit. So I have to spend down before I can apply for Medicaid. Now, if you're asking me if I think I'm going to need nursing home, or if I think my parents are going to need nursing home, and I have, $100,000 in assets, and I want to make sure, because I worked really hard, and I want to make sure my kids, get something. I don't want to spend at the nursing home.
I would like something.
I didn't work hard all those years to give it, not that the nursing home's not entitled, but I worked hard for my kids, my grandkids. So there's probably some other ways I could spend that money in such a way, spend it down in a way that's acceptable, and we do that through the law firm with the elder law attorney. We typically tell the families that we work with, if you are working with us, we can help you shelter, preserve, at least for a single person, a minimum of a third of their assets.
Doesn't sound too bad.
No, it doesn't. So for $100,000, that's $33,000 that I can tuck away. I might have to pay for the nursing home for a little while, but here at the law office, we help people spend down and kind of accelerate the process to which they're eligible for Medicaid. But we guide them through the process. We work with every family to make sure what's right for them. What is that person's goals and concerns? What's most important to them? Do they want the kids to have something? Do they want a private room? What is it they want? What quality of life do they want? And we help them figure that out before they've spent their assets. But more importantly, for people who've done gifting before they even come to see us, if they've spent their assets, we can't help them fix that problem. So for somebody in my scenario, if I spent $69,000, if I've gifted that, then I want to be able to fix that before I spend out all my assets. So I can talk to an elder law attorney who can help me, like, okay, I still have $100,000, but I gave away $69,000. How do I fix that when I go apply for Medicaid? How do I deal with that issue?
That makes sense. So what if I'm not quite ready for Medicaid? Can I prepare to be ready in the future? Is there anything I can do now? Obviously, maybe not me per se, but maybe my grandparents can, even though they may not be ready for a few years, can they maybe start planning to need Medicaid one day?
So we do help some people plan. We help people plan, maybe not so much for Medicaid, sooner rather than later. Because Medicaid has a 5 years look back, so if somebody comes to us and they say, I have assets I want to protect, but I'm still fairly healthy today, but maybe I have a diagnosis of Parkinson's or dementia, and I'm going to need nursing home the next year or two, there may not be a whole lot we can do at that point. But again, every family situation is different. Do they need at-home cares of people taking care of them at home? We can talk to the family about what kinds of things that they shouldn't do to be in trouble with Medicaid. If it's further out, if I've just got that diagnosis for dementia or Alzheimer's, but it's going to be a long time before I need nursing home, certainly there's some planning we can do to protect assets before that point. But definitely, if you're thinking you need nursing home the next month or two, you want to start talking to somebody, coming in with that plan. You want to make sure we have good estate planning documents in place. We want to make sure that there's some of the language and things that we need to be able to do for somebody.
Wow, that's a lot of information.
There's just a lot of different things to talk about, and people think, Medicaid's very simple. They just know about spend down and the 5-year look back, but nobody really tells them, how those things work. Nobody really tells them about the strategies. So I share with people, I'm a social worker. Very early in my career, I actually did hospital discharge planning and nursing home social work. And I help people apply for Medicaid all the time, and to help them qualify when they were going to the nursing home. We'd be somebody leaving the hospital, they'd have a broken hip and they need to go to the nursing home, and we knew that would be able to go back home. So we were doing Medicaid applications left and right, and all I knew about was a few things that they could do for spend down. And that was it. I didn't think about the ramification of, I helped somebody do a Medicaid application, but maybe their assets aren't low enough. Did they do any gifting? Nobody trained me as a young social worker to ask those questions. And not even a young social worker, just in those positions. The difference is working with Michael as an elder law attorney, a lot of the strategies we have are actually considered legal tools. So as a social worker, I could never advise anybody those things because it's doing legal work.
Right.
So I wouldn't have been allowed to as that social worker. So we can help people in so many ways. Get over those hurdles and really talk about the things that are important to them. Help them through all those solutions, possible solutions and issues.
Wow. Well, that's really good to know.
Thank you. To know.
Thank you so much for answering our questions. Like I said, these are very common questions people have, and we really want to make sure that everybody has the right information. If you have any questions, or somebody that is getting ready to go on Medicaid, please call our office at 419-626-0684. You can also visit our website, brumbaughtelderlaw.com. We also have some more information on our website and videos you can look at. We will be doing our next Lunch and Learn next Friday at noon, and we will be talking about probate. So join us for that. Otherwise, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.